Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
It is such a great blessing to witness the last day of the year 2022. Many events, good and bad, took place in the course of the year. But here we are alive to celebrate life as we look forward to an wholesome 2023. It's the last episode of Spring Delight for the year 2022. And I welcome you to the show. Olayinka Ali is my name.
365 days, over 365 days calls for celebration, and it calls for us to thank God Almighty for the grace to be counted amongst the living. How are you doing? Wow. You got how you do it? 365 days just like that.
It's a big achievement.
Oh my goodness. I can't just thank God enough for the gift of life, because 365 days just gone by, just going by. In another couple of hours from now, we will be looking at 2023 and looking at the journey, how it came up, what happened. There was flood disasters, there were periods where kidnappers, but it never came near our dwelling.
For shortage.
Fuel shortage, honestly, but we just give God all the glory that you and us, we are called a living at this moment in time. Spring Delights is a program you are watching live on Western Spring Television, and seriously, we want to thank you all for being there ever since we kicked off transmissions from this great station, Western Spring Television. Thank you for being there. We can assure you, and we are assuring you, that 2023 will be a much more better year for us. Tunde Idowu is my name, and on behalf of the Chief Executive Officer, who is the executive producer of this program as well, and the entire transmission team, on behalf of the management, we say thank you. We'll definitely see you in 2023. I'm so excited to know that
I'm really optimistic.
Going into 2023. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll look at some of the stories making the round from the dailies this morning, and we have quite a whole lot with us that we will do this morning on Spring Delight. Please don't go nowhere. Let's enjoy the ride together, because it's delightful.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions either knows everything or nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions it appears no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefila, and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Evelyn Ohiole,
Hi.
King Eve. How are you today?
I'm good, I'm fine, I'm alive.
I really feel like she's not giving the right answer to the question. When one asks you, how are you? And you said, you're saying, I'm alive. It's very annoying, seriously. How are you? I'm fine. I feel I'm fine will be the right answer instead of I'm alive. Not that I asked you if you're dead before.
Go and check all these 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, everybody, they are extraordinarily sexually active.
I feel is being unnecessarily hyper when it comes to the issue of sex, because we talk about other topics and he feels so reserved. He really doesn't have anything much to say when it comes to other stuff. But when it's the issue of sex, I believe he's being unnecessarily hyper. That's when I have to pick an issue with him. I mean, it's just being unnecessarily there when we're talking about sex. Just like a child, his mom just got him his favorite chocolate or ice cream, very happy, doing as though if he doesn't have sex for a day, he's going to die.
When it comes to finance, women also support their husbands financially. You need me emotionally. You need me spiritually.
Cassie is an amazing person, but I hate the too much attaching to that gender. I need you spiritually, I need you mentally. I can get these things anywhere with money. If you go by the topic was, who does marriage favors the most? I know how many jobless women they marry every Saturday. They are saying it favors you, Are they vague so?
Growing up, when I was in the world, we've heard of
Who are you now?
Well, MC Too Much said, he likes saying when I was in the world. And the last time I checked, well, it looks a bit innocent, facially, but deep down, is actually...
It's still Spring Delight, and we thank you most sincerely for being here with us. And let's just move on as we have to look at some of the happenings making the round from the dailies that we have with us. I have the Nation newspaper.
And I have the Punch.
And it's quite a loaded one in the house this morning. Let's welcome our in-house analyst. He is a former Dean of Student Affairs of the Federal Polytechnic Ede, Dr. Oluyemi Omotosho Jr. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year in advance to Nigeria.
Thank you. All right, Inga.
On the Punch, PDP G5 governors dividend interest told Tinubu Obi's adoption. More facts have emerged on why the 5 aggrieved governors on the platform of the People's Democratic Party have yet to agree on the presidential candidates they will support, having fallen out with the candidates of their party, Atiku Abubakar. It was learned that the governors, Nyesom Wike of Rivers State, who is the leader of the team, Samuel Otom of Benue State, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi of Enugu State, Okezie Ezekias of Abia State, and Seyi Makinde of Oyo State could not agree on a particular candidate during their visit to the United Kingdom during the week.
Well, nice news from them. We don't expect less. They are all fighting on their interests. Fighting for their political interests. And the Nigerian political system is based on interest. That is one. And then it is defined by mainly money,
exactly,
ethnicity. I don't want to bring religion into it. My disagreement with them is why going to UK to make that kind of decision. But the fact is, they will be divided. Interest will divide them. Ethnic interest will divide them. And then political interest will divide them. A good number of them, are in that race because they have lost one thing or the other. Everybody is struggling for where his interest, matters most. And for Nigeria, are we the beneficiaries? No. The problem is that they are fighting for their own interest. They are not even thinking of us. Why? I would have loved them to be thinking of Nigeria. But the point is that ideas, interest is not based on ideology. And because it's not based on ideology, everybody is looking for where, is going to benefit one thing or the other. You remember the group leader lost a primary. And after losing that primary, He has been moving from one place to the other, shouting, he's going, he wants to leave, he doesn't want to be in PDP. But he was a presidential, candidate in the PDP. And because he didn't win that election that was highly monetized, that is the main reason why they are doing what they are doing. But Nigeria would have been better, assuming they are basing their interests, their division, their grouping on the interests of Nigeria. What can move Nigeria forward?
Thank you so much.
Still talking about the PDP, still talking about the G5, quoting what the Rivers State governor is saying here, taken from the Nation newspaper. Sack me if you can. PDP, Wike dares PDP. Now, where I actually want to look at here is the aspect of, there's a rider here. It says, I am an elephant, can't be taken by surprise. Atiku boast. And Okowa saying, God will determine next president, not G5 governors.
Well, like I said earlier, I wish their interests are based on what will move Nigeria forward. Now, sack me if you can dare me. It's just a threat. And I must confess to you that everything is based on money. Wike is looking for where to recoup what he lost during the primary. And whoever can, provide that, he will actually go with the person. But the fact remains that losing Wike doesn't mean anything to Atiku. I think Atiku has been doing his own thing without minding whether Wike is around or not. I've said it, the G5 will be divided. The PDP is notorious for this type of thing. It happens in the past, it's happening now again, and it will happen in future as long as that party remains the way it is. So for Wike is really in the argument that, yes, I've lost the primary and I have the money, I have the people, he wants to ruffle their feather and make sure that they don't win. But the point is that Wike is looking as if is a bribe. But the point is that he is not. The political dispensation of Nigeria, like I said, will be eminently determined by money and ethnicity. You see them now that each person will be going to his own state. You can imagine what Otom said. Otom is considering his party, is considering his people. And then so many of them will be doing that. I wonder what a Makinde is doing in that group, considering the fact that he is in a climb where, he has all the advantages to win the next election. But what he's doing now, are we sure that is still stable? But the fact remains that they are all fighting for their interest. And this interest is mainly based on personal interest. I wish it is based on Nigeria interest.
Yeah, Ngige says no plan to review civil servant salary. He said this on Friday when he was making a statement at the at the Deputy Director's Unit. He said, I lost my internet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, looking at what
let me just say something about that. Look, Ngige is somebody who is consistently inconsistent.
Whoa.
He has told us before they will increase salary. But you cannot take such a politician serious. Most of them are not serious. They tell us this, they do another thing. The fact is that how can Ngige, who bought a 100 million naira presidential form, be telling us he's not going to review salary? Where did he get the money to buy the form? Now, within the last few years, he has been in government. How much has he earned? But nobody is asking him questions about that. Nobody is asking so many of them about that. You could imagine, an individual buying a form for presidential contest for 100 million naira. And he's not thinking about 30,000 naira that is going to pay to workers who are working for the interest of the country. Now, look at the CBN governor too. He took a form for 100 million naira, not minding his work, and he's still doing the job. It is only around this place such things can happen, and they can continue to do what they like. And because they can continue to do what they like, that is why he's talking the way he likes. The fact is that if you are not even going to review workers' salary, what is the inflationary level now? How are Nigerians coping? Won't that be the concern of somebody who they call the Minister of Labor and Productivity? What are we benefiting from his leadership than the fact that he has purchased a form, He couldn't continue with the election, and he's back to his beat. Is he the only person there? So they have the opportunity to actually disrespect Nigerians, and that is what they are doing. And I take exception to that, because in the first instance, what qualifies you to say only we can't review salary when inflation is about 21 to 25%
Exactly.
now, and we are all going to the same market? How do we cope? How does the average Nigerian worker cope? How does the inflationary trend apart? What productivity are you lending to this country to the extent that our foreign exchange, our naira has collapsed to an extent that is unbearable, and you are saying you will not review salary? So if you want 30,000 naira last year, what can 30,000 naira do for you
this
now?
year? Thank you. Federal government to spend 3.3 billion naira on Obasanjo, Jonathan, and all that. Is that right?
This is fun again. You can imagine they are not thinking of us. I'm sorry, I have to be combative this morning because the news coming from them does not favor Nigerians. If you are thinking of a budget that will benefit Nigeria, why are you thinking of them yourselves alone? The Labour Minister said they are not going to review salary. Meanwhile, they are budgeting that humongous amount for those who are retired heads of state. Of course, the president himself is preparing for his retirement again. And so they want all those amount of money for their own comfort, and they are not thinking of our own comfort. The problem with Nigeria is that Nigeria is such a very rich country, but yet the citizens are so poor. And what is impoverishing us? It is the lack of good policies from our politicians, from government. And then the idea that they're only thinking of themselves all the time alone. And then the present head of state, now president, was the former head of state. He's already earning some humongous amount as benefit. He's still taking the budget to the National Assembly to do that. And do you know, you ask me, will the National Assembly approve that amount of money? I tell you, they will approve it because it is, serve me, I serve you. And what does that mean? It means that if you do something for me, I do something for you too. You know, the corruption in this country does not allow us to enjoy our wealth. And that is quite unfortunate. And it is because of the wrong policies coming from government and the wrong policies being approved by the National Assembly. The National Assembly is supposed to be our friend. That is a proposal. But I'm feeling that the National Assembly will approve that proposal because of their own interest. And that is unfortunate. How I wish it is the interest of Nigerians they are thinking about. How can the government be telling us they are not going to review workers' salary in the midst of this high inflationary trend? And yet, you want to pay those who have retired with all the perks of office they have enjoyed. Such humongous amount of money at our own expense. And I want to repeat, the unfortunate thing in this climate is that Nigeria is so rich, yet the citizens are so poor.
Dr. Oluyemi Omotosho Jr., let me just ask, let's look at this. Where, with this humongous amount of money proposed amount budgeted for former heads of states, presidents, vice presidents of Nigeria, where does this leave the pensioners?
Well, I've told you, the government is not thinking of us, the pensioners inclusive. Look, they are not getting their pay as I went due. Not only that, are they even thinking of reviewing what they are paying them? You will be surprised to hear a pensioner is earning 2,000, 3,000 per month. What is that? And a former head of state, with all the accolades, with all the things he has gained before, they are still proposing they will increase what they take home every month. Apart from accommodation, apart from house help, apart from cars, they are still going to pay them all those money. We have leaders who are not thinking of the citizens. And it is quite unfortunate. I wish President Muhammadu Buhari would be thinking more of Nigerians. We are really suffering. Look, why do you think most Nigerians are embarking on Japa? What is Japa now? It's for you to check out of this country and go to Sena or better client where your life can be better. And our government is still not thinking of us. ASUU has been on strike for a long time, and then still now, there is no solution to the problem. The facilities in the universities, in the polytechnics, or all the tertiary institutions are not good. And yet, you are budgeting, see the amount they are budgeting, and go and compare it to what they are budgeting for education. It is quite unfortunate. And I think the earlier the better. Our leaders started thinking or what benefit Nigerians, all Nigerian workers, all Nigerian citizens, than thinking of themselves alone. Because this wealth is a common wealth and it will spread. Let me give you an example. Okay. Now, see Qatar. Qatar is a population of less than 3 million, and they hosted the world. And the world is so happy with them. And if you see the number of stadia in Qatar, you'll be amazed that Nigeria does not even have one that can qualify as what to use. They use to showcase that particular, World Cup. But we are here with 200 million people, and we are one of the oil-producing countries like Qatar. We cannot even host the World Cup, not in the next 50 years. The facilities are not here. There is no light. Good roads, infrastructures are not there. And so, how do you compare that with a country? That is a country that thinks of its citizens and they provide for them. Why are our leaders not thinking like that? I don't support that budget. I think the National Assembly should not approve it, but I'm telling you, they are going to approve it because they are bound together in corruption. The cesspool of corruption in Nigeria does not allow Nigerians to enjoy the wealth God has given to this particular environment, and it is unfortunate.
Yeah, now in Osun, the Osun Contract Review Committee has recommended the immediate suspension of Dr. Niyi Ogini, the Executive Secretary of Osun Health Insurance Agency, OIS, and Dr. Adebukola Olujide, the Acting Executive Secretary, Osun State Primary Healthcare Development Board. Well,
nice one. A government is just in place. And what are they trying to do? They're trying to investigate what happened in the immediate past. And what happened in the immediate past is not edifying at all. Why do I say that? Look, you have a government that was living without the transition program. And then we have a state, and the whole country as a whole, we don't have transition law. And because of that, a government can be going in 2 months and be embarking on local government elections, be embarking on massive construction of roads, appointing permanent secretaries when you have been using coordinator for the past 4 years. All these are not edifying. And because of that, I think the government is trying to investigate. And I support this. You investigate properly and get to the root of the matter. We even learn of massive looting. This is not acceptable because it's our Commonwealth. And so investigation should get to the root of those matters. At the same time, the new government should not spend all its time investigating. You put people in charge to do that and concentrate on new things that can benefit the citizens of this state. Look, we are all voting because we want good governance. Now, a situation where we have a government that is not distributing rights to who? APC and PDP, not even to the other political parties, not even to us. I don't know whether you belong to a political party. But if you don't, did you get the right? No. Why should the government be doing that? What we should be thinking is the government should be growing rice. They should be empowering people to grow rice properly on their own, not distributing rice to some selected people. So investigating whoever has got any malfeasance about the wealth of this state should be investigated properly. That is a step in the right direction. People may be shouting, don't do it, because they are involved. The government should continue to do it, but they should not close their eyes to doing other things that can actually enhance the development of the state and the citizens. Because, like I used to say, this is our Commonwealth. You are just there to manage on our behalf. So why should you get there and then become a king that we cannot talk to? But I think this government they are taking some right steps, and they should continue in that form. But I must encourage them again. Don't distribute rice. Please encourage citizens of Osun to grow rice. We have the land, and the land is fertile. So what's the problem?
Thank you so much.
I'd like to thank you, Dr. Oluyemi Omotosho Jr. He is the former Dean, Student Affairs, Federal Polytechnic. They're always insightful anytime we're together on air like this. I want to thank you, and we'll see each other in 2023.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much.
Spring Delight is still what you're watching on Western Spring Television. We'll take a short break and we'll bring you today in history on 31st of December, what had happened a couple of years ago. Probably Yinka Ali was born on the 31st of December. Well, then on Enlightened.
My father.
We'll take a short break and we'll be back.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions either knows everything or nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions it appears no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefila, and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Yeah, for those who love Manchester United, I know they'll be excited about the great Fergie himself, Sir Alex Ferguson. We say happy birthday to that great coach who has won great titles in England. And also in 1983, when the coup took place, present president now, who ousted former head of state Shehu Shagari. Then we were young, but someone who is on the older platform is in the studio with us this morning on Saturday on Spring Delight, beg your pardon. And we want to thank you for being there with us. Let's keep on keeping on. At this moment in time, 2022 has come, and it's about going. It's been filled with quite a whole lot of happenings, major happenings. If we look at what transpired in 2022, where do we go in 2023? And most especially, 2023 is a year where the elections are coming. And it's either, as people have been saying, it's either a make or mar year. But we just hope it will definitely be on the positive side. So we will look at 2022 in retrospect, major happenings. And we have a dynamic man. I love to call him one young man with us in the house this morning. He is the former editorial chairman of Daily Independent newspaper. Mr. Komi Ademilui, always a pleasure to have you.
Thanks so much.
Let's begin to look at this one after the other. While COVID-19 ravaged the world in 2020 and the global retail crisis followed it in 2021, many have said 2022 was an unpredictable year. Not that any year is predictable, actually, but even with a fortune teller's crystal ball, nobody could have remotely foreseen what 2022 had looked like, and it had been plenty. Well, let's first of all start from the education sector. February 14 is always regarded as a day, Valentine's Day, as a day of love. But ASUU gave parents, ASUU gave government a bitter kind of love when they began that strike, which we thought would just be for just a while, and eventually it stretched to over 6-7 months. Where did it go wrong? Who is to be blamed if we have to lay this on the table?
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Happy New Year in advance.
Happy New Year to you, sir.
I think you have to look at it from a multidimensional perspective.
Not multidimensionally poverty-stricken people.
not that multidimensional.
All right.
See, the thing is, this idea that governments should not honor agreements. Obviously, the Buhari government didn't go into the initial agreement with ASUU.
Yes.
But if you go and use the cliche that government is a continuum, then you've got to honor the previous commitment. I mean, you can't duck out of it and cherry pick that so you have to accept both assets and liabilities. And even if you consider the ASUU agreement to be part of your liability, you still have to honor it. But on a broader base, I think that one of the issues that the ASUU strike brought up, which we ought to tackle if we're going to actually develop any kind of economy, is that you have to revamp Nigeria's whole industrial relations framework. You know, the industrial relations framework, like so many things that hold us back, is really a fallout of the colonial experience, you know, where it's like the Nigerian police force. How can you have a police force after independence? You have changed it to police service. So the mentality of the police officer still is a member of a force. You don't have a force in an independent. You have a force in a colony. It's the same thing. You know, this industrial relations thing is really a fallout of the colonial experience where, you know, everything is based on strife and conflict. That's why, to me, the most, you have to accept my to me, the most successful economy in the world, in a democracy, is that of Germany. If you look at the German economy, living standards have increased every decade since the end of the war. And 80% of this is credited to an industrial relations system that is based on cooperation between government, the private sector, and the unions. They have fixed targets. I mean, it's quite amazing that in Germany, when was the last time you heard of Germans going on strike? I'm sure that was when you were in nursery school.
Absolutely.
The German industrial relationship, because it's based on cooperation, sets targets, the inflation rate target, the amount of hospital beds, the amount of days geriatric doctors, very minute details. But like I said, when was the last time you heard of strike in Germany? I'm sure you can't remember. Neither can I, actually. The problem with the ASU thing is that it's never going to end because you don't have an industrial relations mechanism in which you sit down and you work out a projection over the next 10 years. You work out the kind of universities you want, the student-lecturer ratio, the pay structure and stuff. Everything is short term. Even the agreement that they're fighting over, is it really a 20-year agreement? That's kind of agreements you have in a country like Germany. You have 20, 25, 30-year agreement. And you also have to look at it in perspective of the ASU strike, in perspective of the kind of state that Nigeria has evolved into. It is only, you're only looking at me as a dinosaur. I'm going to kick you on. Go ahead. It's only somebody of my age who can still recall, from reading history, that in 1962, if you look at the Morgan Wages Commission and the report of the Ashby Commission on the future of Nigerian universities, in 1962, a senior lecturer, not a professor, at the University of Ibadan earned more than a federal minister. Somebody of my age, you have to go to the archives. I'm not talking about a professor at the University of Ibadan. I'm talking about a senior lecturer. He earned more than a federal minister.
That's in 1962. In
1962, you look at the Morgan Commission, the Wages Commission, the Ashby report on the future of Nigerian universities. So when you look at it, it shows you how debauched societal values have come. Because you earn a senior lecturer, not a professor, earn more than a federal minister in 1962. I hope a senior lecturer today, I hope he earns as much as a local government councillor. I hope so.
You have started to be corrected,
So, the whole structure, the reward system of this country is really banal. And it is based on a political economy that is based on the development of underdevelopment. You cannot really say in any serious manner that you're talking about a developing country. If you look around you, ask yourself the critical question. I'm not talking about a high roller like you. Most of the people you know, 90% of the people you know, are they better off today than they were 5 years ago? They're not. Most of the people you know are not better off today than they've gone backwards in time. And whether it's ASU strike, whether it's a whole range of things, the critical question for Nigeria is that we're not developing. That's what should disturb you. Whether it's 1922, 2022, 2021, whatever it is, The country is not developing. And the country is not developing because everything is wrong. The reward system is wrong. I was enraged. I can't remember which university it was. Was one of my sons who told me knowing that I would be angry. You had this university, and this lady was the best graduating student in I don't know what it was. And for best graduating student, you get 5,000 naira.
Wow!
I almost fainted. Because I would have thought that I'm giving her a minimum of 50,000 with a laptop, brand new. How can somebody have gone through do so brilliantly well? She was best graduating student. And can you give somebody 5,000 naira? Might as well not give it.
Okay. All right. Let's look at this spate of other things. Yinka, you got that?
Yes. I'm even going to talk on the area of finance and general survival. A lot of people feel 2022 has been challenging, especially in the area of finance and general survival. How would you describe the year 2022?
I think the best way to put it is it's the year that the chickens came home to roost. It was inevitable. I mean, when I voted, for example, in 2015, I voted, thinking that you'd have a profound change, that you'll have fiscal rectitude, that, a new president, not Jonathan, would actually rein in the licentiousness that we have in this country. What we've now had is actually one of the worst economic performance in this country since independence. You can actually argue, you can actually argue since the amalgamation. If you look at
Go ahead.
If you look at the if you look at the rate of inflation, if you look at the depreciation of the national currency, some people in this country should face an economic crimes tribunal.
Wow.
Because you cannot possibly, what was the currency on the day that Jonathan handed over power? What was the currency as of this morning? If you look at the Economic Intelligence Unit, and you look at projections from Goldman Sachs and the World Bank, what you should find profoundly disturbing is that unless a miracle happens, and I know this man likes praying a lot, I like to live like he's always praying. Unless a miracle happens, the projection, the conventional wisdom, converges on the black market, which is the real official naira. The official rate is fantasy, can't be less than 850 naira to the dollar by about August
of 2023.
Yeah. You don't have to be a seer or prophet to know that. It's just common sense. You don't have to have done a PhD in economics to know that. Because a currency is not a piece of paper. It's a store of value. What value is the naira storing? What are we producing? So if you talk about 2022, the chickens came home to roost because the country had been in an eternal party, like Yoruba or Ojojumo. We've been in an eternal party. The early warning signals have been there, even from Obasanjo's time, that the party is over and you're going to clean up the event center. We just went on this binge and it came to roost. Because to me, that the naira itself is not 1,000 naira to $1. It's a miracle. Because I don't see the store of value. First of all, you have leakages in the oil sector. You have a coordinated attack on stealing resources. It's a coordinated attack because it didn't happen by accident. It's been going on for 10, 15 years, and everybody is compromised. And you don't, because it's not producing anything worth producing. You get what I mean? So that the naira is actually where it is. I find it astonishing. It shows a fantastic resilience of what this country could be. But most people, to go back to your original point, they've taken a big hit. When my son, like I was telling you last week, first of all, he bought fuel.
Yes.
For 320 naira. He had to get to work in Lagos. He can't tell his employers that I don't have fuel. You just sack him, then of course you will employ him. Now, and then, my wife traveled, went abroad, stayed with her mother and friends, And then they had to go and buy things for themselves. They used to be all boys, I mean, they was there, no boys, young adults, And they were really surprised at how much the things they bought, chicken and stuff. Because, I mean, they were shocked at how expensive things are. And it's not going to get better because you cannot continue to run an economy that is based on consumption and expect prices to come down. It was like what Dr. Motosho was saying earlier on, which made all the sense in the world. It says a lot about the dire straits we are in this country, that the governor of a state distributes rice. I would have thought that in a country that had a clear trajectory to produce millions of jobs, for people, said about 600,000 people come out of Youth Corps every year. I was astonished. I didn't know it was that bad. How many people were doing Youth Corps in my own time when I did Youth Corps? Maybe we're not up to industry. But how can the government, after the government of the state, how can he start distributing rice? It doesn't make sense. The government is supposed to look at the topography, the areas of Osun State in which you can produce rice, and encourage rice production, just like he encourages other forms of production. And then Osun State becomes a production center. You have rice milling industries, and then you create jobs. You know, all these people coming out who did agricultural engineering, agricultural economics, farming, you know, the whole world. So when you have a country which it is taken for normal, that the chief executive officer of a state, I know he's only been there for how many months, so you can't really hold him responsible. But there's a contradiction in terms in which it is accepted as normal for the chief executive of a state to distribute rice. It's demeaning. You don't distribute, I mean, like fine beggar, you know, like fine barra, you know. It diminishes the person distributing, and the person who has, out of necessity, you can't say no, that you've got to eat now. There's a whole lot wrong. And you know, that's why I think that whoever wins the next election has to take the very brutal, I mean, I'm sorry to, I don't want to sound like a sport, but whoever wins the next election has to take the most brutal decision that any government in Nigeria has ever taken. And that goes back to 1914. You have to unify the exchange rate. It is destructive for one country, even in wartime, to have different exchange rates, because you're then living on average. Put it this way, if somebody has been giving you to the $5,000 every Monday morning at the official rate, and gives you 2 hours, you don't need up to 30 minutes to offload it, change it at the black market rate, make your arbitrage of about 300 to 400 naira, and return the $5,000 back to the central bank. So if you did that, do the maths. Your maths is better than mine. You know? If you did that if a kind godfather or fairy godmother did that for you for 1 year, every Monday for 1 year, I'm not sure if you need to work again.
Seriously.
I'm not sure.
Seriously.
If you do the maths on your
$5,000.
That if just $5,000 every Monday, you change it from the official rate to the black market rate, you return their $5,000, you come back next Monday. I'm telling you, if you did that for 1 year, I'm not sure if you have to work again. So
absolutely.
Maybe after the program, you can do the math. You have to unify the exchange rate.
Yes.
Because it is obvious that you cannot go like this. Countries technically, you have to implement the Oronsaye report. So I don't even think the Oronsaye report goes final, because it doesn't, for example, touch foreign missions. Nigeria today, last time I checked, had 119. There's nothing wrong in Nigeria having 500 foreign missions if it was an exporting country. If you have 500 foreign missions, say your target is $10 million of export per mission, then you can even have 1,000 missions, because even after you deduct expenses, the country is still ahead. But what does the foreign mission in Nigeria do? What do they do? This 190, how much do they have export targets? So you have to implement the Oronsaye Commission's report on the cost of the machinery of government, because it's unsustainable. In the meantime, like you pointed out, it was either you or was it Dami during the week. You are not implementing the Oronsaye report. You're not. You think it's a joke until it's blown up in our video. You are also now proposing to create about 400 additional agencies.
Yes.
You see, this country, at the end of the day, has to be governed, not ruled. You don't rule a democracy, you govern.
Governed.
This country has to be governed by adults. You cannot have primary school pupils taking over the job of the headmaster. You have to have people who have the emotional intelligence and the emotional development to tell the people of this country the truth, that they caused the crisis. The next government, in my opinion, and it is sad because it's not going to happen, should actually be a government of national unity. Because whoever wins on the 25th of February wins in parentheses. Because of the nature of the electoral system, I cannot see anybody winning this election with more than 33% of the total votes.
At a go.
Shagari got 32.6% in 1979. Now, this is the first real competitive presidential election we've had since then. And if you look at it, this is not a duopoly, the normal APC, PDP, or ADP. This is a competitive four-horse race. And I think in the case of Kwakwanso, for example, they're actually underestimating his strength in about 4 or 5 states in the north. But we put that aside. Now, if you are elected as president, of course, you've met the spread, 25% in 24 states. You've had the structure, as they call it. Now, what happens? You are sworn in a country that is technically insolvent and is probably just about 6 months away from bankruptcy, having to get an IMF bailout. Now, how do you forge a national consensus with 33% of the votes? Nobody's going to get 34%. I believe that what they should do is like when you look back at a country that was on the same road to Bafudi, when I was in university a long time ago, to save the Italian Republic, they worked out what was called the Compromesso Historica, the historic compromise. And it said the country would have disintegrated, would have gone bankrupt. I believe this country needs a national compromise. Have a government of national unity for about 18 to 20 months. And sort out, take the really difficult, nasty, these are going to be brutal this year. Because look, put it this way, if you take out this fuel subsidy, as of this morning, the most rational projection is 486 naira. That's how much you are I can call you Yinka. You and Yinka will be paid at 2 o'clock this afternoon if they are next. There's no more subsidy. You know. And Atiku Abubakar said that he will do it within 90 days. To me, without the national government, that's an unrealistic proposition.
Oh, really?
Because, well, I mean, look, it's okay for you and I. If you look at the multiplier effect of suddenly going to 486 naira, now the person taking Korokwe from Okefia to Abere, how much do you think he's going to pay if it becomes 486 naira in, say, 1 hour's time? It's a big jump.
Absolutely.
You know, I think if you have a government of national unity, that means that you can do this. You can have a phased 20 months before you get to that 486 or let's say 500 naira. But you've got to do it because this thing is, I expected, one of the reasons why I voted for Buhari, I expected that as a general, the way that one looked at him like de Gaulle, he was prepared, having gone through the ranks, become a general in an army, former head of state, former minister, to put the country to the very difficult decisions. This, look, it was wrong to have taken part in that Occupy Nigeria. I didn't take part in it because it didn't make sense to me. But you should have said within a year of coming in that, look, we made a mistake. This thing is not sustainable because it doesn't make sense. The people benefiting from the subsidies are smugglers and people who own SUVs. The person entering Korokwe is not something for him. You go to Cameroon, if you go to Yaoundé, one of the first things you see from way back, or not last year, 2 years, 3 years ago, is that more people buy fuel from Nigeria in jerry cans on the road than drive into a petrol
filling station.
I mean, in Nigeria, you just, apart from fuel, it's normal, you just drive, But a friend of mine, when we were young, we couldn't believe it, the fuel station, maybe we have 2 or 3 cars. People don't have time for the fuel station, so they just go and buy the Nigerian. It didn't work. You can't take jerry can and walk across the border. There's big organized crime.
Wow.
As a general, having DSS, military, you knew that this was big business. How can you possibly, the amount we are using on a phantom subsidy in Nigeria is bigger than the national budget of Togo. Fact check it on your phone.
Absolutely.
So what sense does that make? These are decisions that Buhari was elected to take. The next government has to do it. You see, there's no margin of error left in this country. And like I said, everybody has, it's the least protected. That's the sad thing. That's why people I've been giving rice. It's diminishing. How can I give you rice? And I mean, if you just look at me and say, what's wrong? It's an insult now. But when you are browbeaten into submission, you do not have a choice.
I will have to ask you a very important question.
Please
you know, there is this thought that the year to election is often fraught with challenges, like the one we witnessed this year. Is this generally correct? I mean, have we had years like this in the past?
It's to be expected in a democracy because all kind of pent-up frustration, anger, delayed reaction, they do tend to come up in that last 9 months to a year before an election. Because usually, unless a government has done exceptionally well, there's always a feeling of buyer's remorse and regret and disappointment amongst people. It's normal in a democracy, so it shouldn't be surprising.
Let's look at the spate of flood disasters as one of the tragedies we had in 2022. We had states like Kogi, Bayelsa, Cross River, Delta, and a part Lagos. And now, this disaster actually claimed about 603 lives. It displaced 1.3 million people and partially destroyed over 108,393 hectares of farmland across Nigeria. The disaster also injured about 2,407 persons, partially damaged 121,318 houses, totally damaged 82,053 houses, and totally damaged 332,327 hectares of farmland. Mr. Demilui, the meteorological department came out to tell us, like, hey, there's going to be heavy rainfalls in 2022. But it seems as if governments at all levels just decided to allow this to pass. And we saw the devastation, we saw the effect of this, of the flood disasters. What should government do come 2023 to prevent occurrences such as this?
You know, Bob Dylan, the Nobel laureate and singer, American singer, he said a very long time ago, you do not need a weatherman to tell you which way the wind is blowing. Nothing happens by accident in life. Nothing, you know. It was planned. Architect Omigona, the thing is left, you know. He pointed out that when dams were created in Cameroon, right, Nigeria should have had its own dams immediately. He didn't do it. And now you are now bemoaning that 600 people died. These people are not bothered whether 6,000 people die. You know, I mean, I think you call the practicals out of it. The government actually, governments at every level, local government, state, federal, they planned for this thing to happen, this disaster to happen. Some of them should be facing war crimes tribunal. A lot of the ecological funds, if you had a proper audit, some people will end up in jail. Yeah, because the ecological funds were just part of the booty sharing. Now the chickens come home to roost, and you are now looking at it as if it was a natural disaster. It was not a natural disaster. It was a man-made disaster. And like NSAS, nothing has been learned. Nothing has been forgotten. You'll still be talking about this flood next year. You know that. Wow. Okay, NSAS came, right? He didn't take it seriously. The Nigerians actually, they'll soon forget it. You now had somebody who, God knows what that woman and the twins she was carrying would have been. The woman had ended up as Attorney General of the Federation, Chief Justice of Nigeria. We will now never know. And we're now hearing hypocritical sounds. These people have shed enough crocodile tears to fill the Atlantic Ocean. Mourning an untimely and totally unnecessary death. If you had looked at NSAS seriously and started to make body cams mandatory, that every policeman must have a body camera, which will be standard, and which is actually standard as of this morning in Rwanda. I mean, what's the resources of Rwanda compared to that of Nigeria? So you don't come and give me some cock and bull story that Nigeria can afford it. I believe that if you stop people from taking 100 billion naira for one individual, how much is a body cameras mass produced? We don't have up to 400,000 policemen. I believe that the next government must work that within 15 months, body cameras for every security agent in Nigeria, police, civil defense, whatever, must be mandatory. Otherwise, you just come every time, you just keep on with this hypocritical stuff and shedding crocodile tears. It's offensive to the family of the person who died, because you know the family of the person who died, they are not daft now. They know that you don't meet them, that you just crocodile tears, and I think you can spare them the further agony. So I think that the main thing is we don't learn anything. This ecological disaster.
Yes.
You saw it coming because you were eating ecological funds. You saw it coming, the dams that you're supposed to absorb the water from Cameroon, you didn't do it. Only God knows whether there were appropriations that they ate as well. This one has come. What lessons have been learned? The preparation start immediately. Yesterday is already late to forestall another disaster. You and I know that. Is it people who are talking about elections and people passing supplementary budgets? Look at what has happened, just to show you the kind of country we're living. The use of language is so banal that somebody sends in 23 trillion naira for approval. Cannot approve something that has been spent. I would have thought that somebody in a nursery school would know that. You can only ratify expenditure that have been spent. How can you say that you should approve it? So what do you want to do? If I don't approve it, you bring the money back. It doesn't make sense. And it's the same for this ecological disaster. It will always continue like this because look, this is not a serious country. I'm sorry, it gives me no great. I'm in Nigeria now. But when that ecological disaster happened, just like NSAS, you should have just gone all out that it will never happen again. Do you get the impression that these people remember all the statistics you rolled out today? You have a good head for figures. You rolled out all this. You think the people who you are talking about?
Yes, please.
You think that they started planning as to how to avert another disaster next year? Next year is just a few hours away.
Absolutely.
You know as well as I do, and you can't else too. Maybe you don't give two hoots about the things that trouble you.
Wow.
Let's come to Osun. A transition happened in Osun State this year.
It didn't happen.
The general public are always saying it happened, and we all know. And it appears the new government is presently trying to implement a direction it prefers. Does it look like the transition is taking Osun in the right direction?
Well, first of all, I'll have to have a divergence opinion from you. The transition didn't happen because the outgoing government was emotionally underdeveloped. We saw how Uhuru Kenyatta, even though his candidate didn't win, within 8 minutes, it was on CNN, said that the head of service should begin a transition period without prejudice to any legal challenge that might be stayed. So the new government, the present government, was handicapped unfairly. It shows complete lack of immaturity for a governor to say, of course, it would not stop a court case. It does not mean that, but you didn't do a transition. There are all kinds of allegations now, the time wasting, there are all kinds of videos. And I just hope that these kind of people never get elected into office again. But in terms of direction, honestly, it's true confessions time. I've not been, I live here in Oshogbo, but I've not been following the directions that I know that a lot of it has got to do with cleaning the mess. Like, for example, I think the head of the consultant to the water thing was on your. A lot of it is really reactive. And then, of course, the new governor is handicapped by the absence of a legislative majority. I suppose he has to go all out to try and get one in March, I think, But if you ask me that whether I can detect any new directions, it's difficult to have new directions when you are dealing with the past, when you don't have a legislative majority. It's obvious that I don't think the guy can put together a team of commissioners because who is going to confirm his commissioners when he doesn't have it's quite difficult, but I think that if you look at Osun in 2022, It is the elections were free and fair. Obviously, there were some the courts will decide on that, not me. But the tragedy for me that people should learn, starting from the new governor, Adeleke itself, honestly, like Fayemi, if you try and get the House of Assembly to pass a transition law, you cannot have a very poor state. This is a poor state. What's the revenue base of a state in which every 4 years you change cars, you change sockets, you change it? This is disgraceful. But if you ask me about the direction of the new government, honestly, I have not been fastidious enough to tell you what. I'm sorry. Next I'll be better prepared.
Let's stay with Osun, taking it to the general thing that is about to happen come 2023. That's the election here. We had that of Ekiti State. With the use of the beavers is one of the most fantastic things that the improvement as to what Nigeria has always had. And with what happened in Osun, will you say, were there lessons learned from the election here in Osun that probably will precede to what we will see in 2023?
Very much so. Actually, I was impressed. I was here, with the use of the beavers and the speed in which the results were coming in. It was an improvement because if they can fine-tune an improvement, it's an advanced road. Because what we are now seeing with Ekiti and in particular with Osun is that slowly, but hopefully surely, especially for people of the next generation, that the old politics is going away. It's kicking hard, but it's going away. That is the old politics of grabbing ballot boxes, disrupting the process. Beavers is a brilliant counterattack. And if they can continue to fight to the day when we have electronic voting, of course, the old order do not want this. I was impressed with the beavers, the results, the speed of the... And I was very impressed that there were 1 or 2 places, which I think the press itself, not Rave actually, I think it was Isokon local government. Yes, because I had it on Rave, in which people actually took a political agent who was distributing money, and they told him to share. I thought that was impressive. They didn't take the money. They could have taken, okay, we'll distribute the money. So they got the guy to get out of the place and be escorted out by the police. I thought that, like beavers, to me, is an isolated case, obviously. But I thought it was an important development because the bad thing, and I know a lot of money was distributed, but I don't know how much the money tilted the balance, because there were still a lot of people in this state, unlike in Ekiti State, it's a different economy, I suppose, who resisted this Digboko Sebe. Because the political establishment, what it did, which is why Beavers too will help, what it did was to weaponize poverty. People have been browbeaten into submission. It's like in the Yoruba Palace, that you can never become anything in life. I mean, if you think you can become anything, like you take 3 days' money, the 10,000 Digboko, you can't cook anything. But anybody who bases a political choice on that, it's because you have given up on life. You have. Because if you know, even 50,000 naira, you must have not said, okay, everybody's hard pressed. I can do with 50,000 naira too. But the political establishment, I like the Beavers. It's
an improvement.
It's an improvement. And you just hope that forces do not conspire to push it back. And I just hope that the INEP, because one of the fears that I have, again, because I have children who they're not children, they are young adults. They actually feel, they live in Lagos, they don't feel it, they don't live in Osun. But they actually feel that there is concerted voter suppression going on in terms of the younger demographics picking up their PVCs. There's never been this interest for as long as I can remember that people actually want to pick up the PVC. So one of the things that should be disturbing, which the media, very good people like Rave and Living Spring should always bang upon, it's not just that people should register and pick up their PVCs. You have to continuously monitor and ask the INEC people why there are so many complaints about picking up PVCs. You get what I mean? Because even one of my sons actually said, yeah, I think he was joking actually. When he just use courier service. Use DHL. I don't want to get a bill from your commercial manager. But honestly, I'm impressed by the way that the enthusiasm. But because like my son was telling me that, on their WhatsApp group, all of them, I mean, they had this class set whether they went to King's College together, graduated now and stuff, working. One thing that really impressed me, actually showed me this thing, which he shouldn't have, part of their class set, is out of their class set, actually 90% have registered, picked up PVCs or tried to pick up PVCs. That is a fantastic advantage. Because personally, left to myself, I believe in compulsory voting. That voting and taxation, like that's what you have in Australia, Brazil, Argentina, Seychelles. Voting like taxation should be compulsory. It's part of the social contract. So that you now have, so a lot of people are afraid that what you have at the moment, right, could be inadvertently or otherwise voter suppression. Because I don't know about Oshu, you are more on the ball than I am, but it's alarming that hopefully it's inadvertent that people are not, it's not as smooth to collect voters' cards. I think everybody who wants to collect the vote, and everybody should collect their PVCs and use their sense and vote properly, because this election is make or break. And it's much more pivotal than any election we've had since 1979. Because like I said, if you look at all the parameters, right, you might be the most optimistic person in the world, but there's a very little to be optimistic about unless you have a decisive intervention by a government that is armed with a thoroughly costed program. And I can explain to people that we are all going to have to suffer this thing together for 22, 24 months.
If we take a critical look at the state of welfare of most Nigerians, would you say Nigerians and Osun people made any remarkable progress this year?
Certainly not. I don't want to sound sexist.
No, just
I don't know very much about food, actually. Okay. But a friend and I, we were just walking down. I can't remember where, and I saw these tomatoes, We were walking, we were going to meet somebody, like we're going to meet today, so we had to cross and walk down. What really disturbed me, actually, to be very honest, these tomatoes, right? I didn't know how you can feed that to pets. The Society for the Protection of Animals, if you are a member of and you saw me giving that to my dog or cat, you should arrest me. And honestly, I hope people, I don't know what that thing was doing, I hope people are not eating, but if you look at the faces of people, honestly, apart from high rollers like Yinka and today, you're two of the millionaires. Just look at jokes. Look at the faces of people you meet on the street. Look at the faces of people in Korokwe. Do they look healthy to you? I'm not a doctor or a nutrition or dietitian. Living standards have gone back. Have not improved. They have not been static. They have gone back. The key question, which we never ask, that's the problem with Nigeria. The key question in an election, in a democracy is, am I better off today than I was 4 years ago? Unless people ask those questions, they won't make any but definitely from the little I know, staying here, I haven't lived there all year, just a few forays to Lagos, they're not better off. Food is more expensive. I believe a staff of a friend of mine was complaining, I didn't know, as to how much rents had gone up in Ofatedo. So rents have gone up. I'm sure school fees have gone up. The proprietor of a school was saying to a neighbor of mine within the same compound that the amount of defaults on school fees was unimaginable if you go 2 years back in time. Things are bad, they've gone back. And I hope people use their brains and hold some people responsible. And the unfortunate thing, without being a spoiled sport, short of a miracle, it's difficult to see how things can get better. I mean, because rents, the landlord who is planning to increase rents is not a narcissist or a sadist. It's because he too is reacting to his own cost of living crisis. You have a situation in which instead of constructing rural roads, I mean, the fastest way to bring down food prices is to invest in rural roads, because if the cost of evacuating produce,
bringing it from the rural areas to the urban cities.
You don't have to do a degree in economics to know that. Just common sense.
Absolutely.
Instead of doing that, we are already being told that it's going to take about 2.7 billion naira to replace all the stuff that was looted in quarters and stuff. So that we now had in this same Osun State, according to the government, I didn't say that, it was the government that said it, that they spent 3.4 billion naira holding a meaningless local government election in which not up to 10% of the registered voters took part in. Now, if you add 3.4 billion and you put the 2.7 estimated, which I don't know how they got that figure, and you put that into rural roads, you do not need to be particularly intelligent to know the way it will bring down food prices within months.
Absolutely.
Because like Goldman Sachs said, in a developing country, well, Nigeria is underdeveloping, so I don't know if it's developing anything, but the Goldman Sachs position is that every kilometer of rural road has a multiplier effect of 10. Because you're not just talking about bringing down food prices, which it will. The food is healthier because it's evacuated fast. But more important is that you can now set up cottage agro-industrials. How can you have a country that spends, which is what Nigeria spends, how can Nigeria spend 800 million United States dollars importing tomato paste and puree?
Wow.
And you go to some parts of Nigeria and you just see heaps of tomatoes rotting away. The country, instead of spending, should actually be exporting tomato paste, tomato puree, one of the. So across Africa to Europe. Because, I mean, my cousin was complaining, this cost of living crisis. And she was speaking to me, she's a medical doctor, Japan, about 31, she left with her husband, And she was explaining, she was complaining to me about all this cost of living. And she made a very good point, which I remember because of the question you asked me. She said, look, Uncle, if Nigeria had developed tomato processing industries with all these tomatoes that have been wasted, that Nigeria would be exporting millions, tens of millions of pounds sterling of tomato paste and puree to England, because there are shortages because of all kind of weather. And then Nigeria, because cost of labor is cheaper in Nigeria, it will be cheaper because she's complaining that she's terrified of making something like jollof rice now. But when she goes to buy all the things you need, tomato paste, that she was just thinking that if Nigeria was just shipping in shiploads of paste, puree, all this, that people will be rushing for it because it will be cheaper coming from Nigeria because cost of labor is cheaper in Nigeria. And then Nigeria is earning foreign exchange. It's difficult to know, but I can't, this year that is about to close, people took a big hit and everything went up, transportation. I mean, people who use Okada, ask them the wrangles that are going on, just trying to get the Okada to be reasonable. Not like the Okada guy is a nasty guy. Now, what can he do now? Do you know how much he's buying fuel? It was a nasty year, but before you go on, the bad thing is that nothing as usual, nothing has been done.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
I'm sure you invite me again. I sound like a sport.
Why not? It's been a pleasure speaking with Mr. Komi Adebili. He was actually the former past chairman, editorial board of Daily Independent. Always incisive and insightful with his analysis. We want to thank you most sincerely.
Thank you so much.
Happy New Year in advance.
Happy New Year in advance.
I suppose you're going to intensify the bills paying.
Definitely. Right, we'll take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll be hooking up with somebody who will dance us out into 2023 in grand style. Please stay with us.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions either knows everything or nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions it appears no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefila and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Evelyn Ohiole,
Hi.
King Eve. How are you today?
I'm good, I'm fine, I'm alive.
I really feel like she's not giving the right answer to the question. When one asks you, how are you? And you said, you're saying, I'm alive. It's very annoying, seriously. How are you? I'm fine. I feel I'm fine will be the right answer instead of I'm alive. Not that I asked you if you're dead before.
Go and check all these 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, everybody, they are extraordinarily sexually active.
I feel is being unnecessarily hyper when it comes to the issue of sex, because we talk about other topics and he feels so reserved. He really doesn't have anything much to say when it comes to other stuff. But when it's the issue of sex, I believe he's being unnecessarily hyper. That's when I have to pick an issue with him. I mean, it's just being unnecessarily there when we're talking about sex. Just like a child, his mom just got him his favorite chocolate or ice cream, very happy, doing as though if he doesn't have sex for a day, he's going to die.
When it comes to finance, women also support their husbands financially. You need me emotionally. You need me spiritually.
Cassie is an amazing person, but I hate the too much attachment to that gender. I need you spiritually, I need you mentally. I can get these things anywhere with money. If you go by the topic was, who does marriage favors the most? I know how many.
Welcome back. He's a versatile live band musician that sings all genres of music. He started singing at a very early age, and he has played in more than 50 weddings since he started professionally in January 2022. I'm talking about no other person than Jesu Pelumi Esho, popularly known as Otumba JMC. Otumba JMC, are you there?
All right. Oh, okay, he's coming. The earlier the better we get Otumba live on the air. We need to discuss things that is worth talking about as we gradually coast home with 2022. Just a couple of hours away from saying Happy New Year to us. And just as it's always a good thing, we'll rock it out into 2023.
You really want to dance.
I really want to dance and just at least rock it up on the Spring Delight, no doubt about it. But I would like to let our viewers know that very much later tonight, between 11 and midnight, we will be giving you live transmissions of happenings from everywhere around Osun State. Our team will be over there. And we will be doing this. We will be sorting it out. We'll be giving it to you first hand both on our sister station, Rave 91.7 FM. You can trust us. We'll always give it to you. And what are we looking at with you for 2023? Are there resolutions you're making or you've made already?
I've made already.
You made? Such as?
I don't want to fight.
With Seyi Omotayo?
With all of you guys.
No, you and I, well, that would be a good one. That would be a good one. And let's see. Is it okay?
Is Otumba there? Otumba JMC, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How is Ile-Ife today?
Yeah, Ile-Ife is fine. Ile-Ife is fine. The weather is cool and everywhere is, New Year and the whole celebrations everywhere.
Good to have you, Otumba. And from here, we're saying Happy New Year in advance. Can you hear me, Otumba? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. We'll say Happy New Year in advance. 2023 will be a better year.
In advance.
Yeah, bro. Now let's get to know who Otumba is and why music. What genre of music do you sing? And how long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been doing this since I've been very little. Actually, music generally. But I started live band. When is it called? 2020 officially. Though I've been into live band music since I was very little. I had to play with some other bands. I played the talking drum. I played the drums with other instruments like that. But I started my own official band 2020, early 2020. So, and since then I've been into it. Doing this, doing that.
Fabulous.
Yeah, you call yourself Otumba JMC. What is JMC?
JMC is Jesu Pelumi. That's my name.
Okay.
Jesu Pelumi Musical Confluence.
Oh, okay. MC.
Can you sing for us?
Yeah, I did get that.
Can you sing for us? Like, let's viewers at home feel your voice.
Okay, so let's just do. Okay, let's do a Christmas song then.
Okay.
So, we wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. Great
now
voice.
let's look at Otumba Esho Jesu Pelumi. Where are you from?
I'm from Osun State.
Osun is large.
Yeah, I'm from Osun State, Ilesha.
I'm Ilesha Lere.
That's the you don't. I don't know.
Ilesha Lere, right?
Ijesha Lere.
Oh, Ijesha Lere. Okay.
Lere.
All right.
Lere.
Oh, no, I'll get it better in 2023. Okay. What inspired you into music? Why music?
Well, what inspired me to music majorly is the joy that it gives. That's like the number. I find it gives joy to the way it gives joy to the person listening. So that is enough. That is enough to inspire you. And at the same time, it puts food on the table.
Okay.
So that.
Yeah, is it only weddings you sing? Because I learned you sang in about 50 weddings. Do you sing elsewhere apart from weddings, like social gatherings, anniversary? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. It's actually more than 50 weddings, but the ones that are on record though for now. So we sing at burial ceremonies, corporate events. There are some companies have, all these dinners and things like that. So we sing at corporate events, burial ceremony, weddings, birthdays, the lights and things like that. Social gatherings generally.
That's a big one. That's a big one. And let's look at how this started. You said from little beginning, while growing up, you've always been a fan of music. And Daddy and Mommy, were they against it or were they in for this?
funny enough, they were very supportive since I was very little. They were very supportive. Even my mommy brought my first talking drum for me. That was, I think, secondary school. So even after the old university education, and then, you know, when they realized that, okay, this guy is like, his music that he wants to do. So they put in my bands, because most of the time they have to come to my house to come and rehearse. So she would even cook for them once in a while, like, okay, you guys should just enjoy yourself. So they give me, people, okay, you want to travel, let's just pray for you so you go and come back. You know how these African parents can be. So they've been very supportive. So it has been very, very easy for me from their end. So because, you know, when you're into this kind of business and you have to, what's it called? You have to do it secretly because your parents don't like what you're doing. It could be very difficult. But you can do it, you know, with open mind, and because they're very supportive. And I thank God for that.
Okay, since you started professionally in 2020, how has it been like? Any challenges? I mean, how have you been able to, you know, cross any hurdles you've gone through?
Yeah, it's been challenging, but at the same time, we thank God, because this is a business where people don't know if you are good or not. All they want to know is, do you have a name? How much do you charge? Can this person do this kind of big event? Somebody already called me. Said the event was going to be like 5,000 guests. That was early 2022. Then the other said, they can't call me again because that one thinks I cannot do it. I need to call one big person. Challenge. Even getting sound systems and equipment, getting good band boys. So it was really a roller coaster, but thank God we're moving forward now. We're getting better by the day. So it's getting easier. So I believe it's going to keep on moving like that.
So hopefully 2023 will take us to higher heights. And what are your aspirations? What should we expect from Otumba come 2023 as we plan along?
In 2023, by the grace of God, we're planning a very big concert in Lagos. It's going to be a love concert by the grace of God. And, you know, it's just going to be major for lovers. Love. Because love is what makes the world move around. I don't know how they say that. So, majorly a concert like that. We did what's it called? A 50-something minutes music last year. This year, sorry, not last year. So we're hoping to drop something like that next year too, so for our fans and family and friends. So keep moving forward and keep smashing weddings the way we do, smashing events even better and better.
All right, Otumba, just stay on the line. We want our viewers to at least feel some of the vibes you've been dropping and how it looks like. Let's just get to listen to what you are watching on air. Stay with us.
Ọba tó gbé ògo kárí ògo láti inú ògo lọ sínú ògo ògo tó borí ògo ògo tó lé gógó ògo ògo tó wọṣọ ògo ògo tó báṣọ ògo bóra oúnjẹ ògo ó mu ògo ó gbé ògo lọ sínú ògo ó gbé ògo sẹ́ kárí ògo láti inú ògo lọ sínú ògo ọba tí kì í sùn. Ọba tí kì í rẹ̀
I bow before you. Otumba, you have a new member of a group. Oh, I'll do the backup. I can sing very well.
I told you, you're looking for his side also.
No problem.
Good one there.
Otumba, what's the most memorable day in your life in this journey of music? Can you
What's
hear
the best
me?
what?
The most memorable day.
You can never forget.
Like a day you can never forget since you started music professionally.
There are a lot of very...
The positive ones. Let's look at the positive ones.
Yes. Yeah. I think that was when... Okay, let me just say, when we had I think it was in Lagos, Musonsen. Was it Musonsen in Lagos? No. It was one event in Lagos, I can't really remember, but the Oni of Ife was there. I think that's like the highlight of the whole thing. So it was there, and to specially recognize me that day, that this guy is good, this and that. So I was like, wow, this is really awesome. So I think that's like the height of the whole thing is there. You have had a lot of good people playing at very nice events that had dignitaries and other people like that. So but the height, I think that was the height. It takes a lot for a king of that kind of caliber to actually recognize out of the whole thing. So
absolutely. Otumba Jesu Pelumi, Esho Jesu Pelumi, we cannot wish you less. We wish you the very best, and 2023 will be greater and better. We'll look forward to having you live in the studio to come and do us the tumba and everything, and then your backup singer can begin to back up.
You're looking for his side also.
Oh, I want to thank you most sincerely for joining us all the way from Ile-Ife this morning. Best regards to His Imperial Majesty and to everybody in and around Ile-Ife at this moment in time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And at this juncture, it's about that time for us to say thank you for being there with us. It's been beautiful, and we just pray it remains beautiful. Next week, when we will be here, it will be in the year 2023. We will not find you wanting. We'll all be alive, hale, and healthy. On behalf of the Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Femi Adefila, on behalf of the entire transmission team, you are on behalf of all our producers, you are also, we say thank you to you for always tuning in to Western Spring Television channels 190 on Star Times. Tonight, we're saying Happy New Year.
Online Kali saying Happy New Year. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
We'll see you in 2023.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions